can uh, uh, not only can I make you my representative, so that you get 2 votes, you get to vote for me and you on on issues where I trust you, and I don't know, I have no idea what the right decision is. And by mixing, the liquid democracy with decision processes tied to contracts on the blockchain that it can be of any complexity we want, or simplicity, whatever. I mean, we're starting off with weak consensus, and then from there we build whatever we need next. And of course, the member majority can overrule the managers. The member 2/3 of the members can overrule the community manager decisions, but the community managers are really facilitators. They're there to find out what group sentiment there is, what the group wants. They're there to serve the group and consult the experts, and try to develop a consensus in the group. But
if I'm getting you right there, I think what you're saying is that what I was talking about earlier was a long-term house and a short-term house. Well, the short-term house would be the community, and the long-term house would be the community managers. Does that kind of fit what you're saying?
That's a beautiful example of making this organic. Okay, and and having separation of power, so to speak, or and this is what Divvy is about. We want to divvy up the process, and I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's sort of like what I'm doing on the Divvy. I want to focus. I'm going to spend my time doing the necessary, the first things first, and lots of people like you want to build structures and other things that I want to build very soon. But if we get a critical mass of people that are interested in building that structure, we'll build it. And I'll help. But it's not going to be my focus. So in the considerate, you want to get people with a very high commitment to it. And then the work starts autonomously. Your work group of people that were interested just do it, okay? And maybe they were supported, with some AMPs or Divvy tokens or Bitcoin bounties that people threw in. They say, yeah, I want that.
Donation, all of it, everything, anything should be by donation only. That's my opinion.
I disagree. You need positive and negative incentives. But yes, you're right. Taxation. A taxation is a fee. I mean, a fee on Bitcoin or a fee on Ethereum or a fee on Scenario. I mean, economy is giving you the scalability. It's giving you, by charging you fees, it lets the whole system be scalable and always be available and everything else. So taxation should be fees, but we want it's like Doug Rushkoff is always complaining about. We have the whole wrong incentives built into our taxation system, and we make everything illegal rather than taxing it. When taxing it is a way we can discourage it without
issues with that. We have a congestion. They call it congestion charge in London, and it's gone up. It's like £20 a day to go into London, and really the idea is to stop cars going into London. But anyone who's got a wealth level above a certain level, it doesn't make any difference to them. £20 a day. So it just means all the rich people can break the law. I really don't agree with that at all. I think it's wrong. People should be able to go into London in a car if they're a single parent with children and shopping to carry, not because they've got a big fat wallet.
Yeah, but that's an impossible situation. They have to have some way of restricting the number of cars.
Keep the cars out that have only got one person in them.
Well, there's all kinds of ways it can be handled, and we could have a lottery on the blockchain as to whether you get to drive in today. But we have to limit the number of cars, and a good way to do it is to make the people who are going to get the privilege of coming in, make them pay for the infrastructure, make them pay for the system that lets them get into London.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I really can't agree with that at all. Just because somebody can get in, somebody who needs to go in can't. I mean,
Yeah, well,
the best way to discourage cars is to have free public transport.
I think the new model, or what we're trying to, I think the essence of the Divvy and other projects that I see that I'm more excited about is how do we build these systems that are more organic, and so they're able to evolve, and but also too, it's kind of like, how do we troubleshoot the best idea, and so you know, we're ruled, we kind of had this on one segment, and it's rule by proof, like the, you know, and we talked about this on the biology of anarchy, about ants. They randomly look for food, and when the ants find a food, and just by how they lay down their pheromones, the best path to the resource wins in the long run, and and so you invest into the best idea in that sense.
Yeah, and Greg or somebody at the Rushcroft thing was, bringing in the group mind aspects of it, which are very important, but all that need to be set up to make that happen, and that's part of the organic structure that you set up. And even though it's a fluid structure, you have representatives, which are fluid, and then you have managers or executives or employees, whatever, that are assigned a role. And when somebody takes on a role, you compensate them. And when you were talking before, Daniel, about taking responsibility in mines, that led me right to, why not generate some mines coins? Okay, because if somebody assumes a role, they should be recognized. And it's sort of like why going on here again is it's why we should accept scenario amps. I mean, even if we didn't want the money, okay, we want to, we're ushering in a new economy here, and the best way we can do that is by participating. And in many of our efforts, we'll be looking to give to give out the amps, and in the Divvy tokens, the Divvy dollars.
Slight tangent about ants. Has anyone read that book called The Green Brain? I think it was Brian Aldiss wrote it. It's a science fiction book. Did anyone read that?
No.
Basically, it's a story where it's set in the future, and humanity has got to a point where they're totally scared of nature, totally scared of any microbes or bugs or anything like that, and live in hermetically sealed domes, which are scattered all over the planet. And occasionally there's a need to travel from one to another. They do this in hermetically sealed aircraft. Anyway, one of these aircraft crashes in the middle of the jungle, and they're all terrified. They're all going to die, they're going to catch diseases and everything. But they don't die, they don't catch diseases. And one of them, when they all wake up, they all regain consciousness, they're all knocked out in the crash, and they wake up, one of them's missing. So they're wondering where he's gone. And eventually they find him lying in this cave, and half of his head's missing from an injury, but these ants, or termites, or some insect, they're not insects, are they, ants? But anyway, whatever they are, termites, ants, are streaming to and from this guy's brain and going out into the forest. And actually what's happened is they've attached themselves and become part of him, and his mind has become part of them. And the point they're making, the point that's being made in the book, is that, like, we as humans, we have a brain with lots of brain cells in the brain, which are all, we have one body, whereas and our mind inhabits our brain, all these different cells in the brain, whereas in the case of ants, the mind has 10 or 100,000 different little bodies, which are all telepathically linked. to one mind. They have a collective mind, a collective consciousness, which is, imagine having, instead of having one body, you've got 10,000 little bodies. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about ants. That's all I have.
My dog is part of my body too.
Yeah, right.
The nature of being, all the way down to the atom and beyond, is collective. Okay. Essentially, what we find if we look at an electron is that there's nothing there. It's really the effect of the universe at that point. It's an effect of the system the electron belongs to. And it only is exhibited periodically. In the meantime, it doesn't exist. And you can arrange the system so that it never exists again. But it's hard to say it's even the same electron. And our belief that we have a singular being is contradicted by the fact that we're, trillions of cells. Okay, and that's all we are. We're nothing more. And we look at the ants, and then we look at our circles and and we see that we develop a collective mind with our closest friends. We develop them in our communities, and then they have the collective mind, which is being trained on us from the top down, that distorts, the triggers and so that we can't make good decisions. The road is well laid out in terms of how to collaborate effectively, and that you need to work in small groups, and you want to have a high bandwidth of communication for synchronous communications, and you want text that's asynchronous. It's not this immediate Twitter responses, and everybody on their machines all day is as Doug Rashcroft says, just stop using it. Okay, where the really meaningful and the collective intelligence comes from is when we delay, when we contemplate something, and the next day we reply. The immediacy of the internet today is actually destroying the collective intelligence.
This is kind of goes into part of our show that we had earlier, but what you see as maybe a collective unconscious and any of that stuff that was just brought up. I was wondering if you had something to add to that.
The collective unconscious is kind of what's screwing the world up today. I mean, everything that's going on is a result of just some crappy programming that we've all been given to one degree or another, no matter how pure or not we might be with how we grew up, or how who we had around us that were mentors or people in positions of authority to us that were doing rightly or not, or thought they were doing the right thing, but they were programmed badly. I guess that the way to round that in with the relevance of this discussion is just to simply say that I see this changing. I see that people are figuring out ways to clear out sort of paranoid programming, like Lee would put it, factory reset, or at least a disk clean or defrag, And I truly do. I always want to be interested in projects where anything is moving away from the static systems that are in place, the ones that we've really grown past. I've sort of just been meditating on that since the last show, so I might sound repetitive. But so yeah, for that reason, I'm very interested in. I've sort of, while you guys have been talking, I've been checking out the scenarios around the different websites. Yeah.
So I think that being a mind's representative to the Divvy would be a good thing for you and others here, because Daniel and I don't want to make any decisions.
Yeah.
I was interested. That's why I questioned. I'm interested. Is there a link or you know? And I looked. I checked out Scenarios Minds channel too, and yeah, I think that we're open to that. Looking at being a community member there, at least definitely checking everything out and being involved. So we're kind of winding down a little bit, just a little bit. We've gotten just a little bit more free time in the last week or so. It's past our peak busy season, so we've got a little bit more time.
Well, you know, somebody just has to put you on the list of the Minds community representatives and the Scenario community representatives, and that's just the first step, so that you're included, and then we can see about a community leader position in Scenario, or you might be interested in the ambassador program for $400 a month. You have to, you know, when you apply for it, you tell them what you're going to do, and they either accept it or reject it. I mean, the rules of the program seem to be kind of strict, and you wonder if, you know, they're going to not pay you because of a technicality or something. But you know, if they like what you're doing, and you know, they'll you'll get the $400 a month anyway. But the community leader program is a little more flexible. It's going. They may be closing the community leader program, and we will become the the Scenario Divvy representatives, which you're welcome to join.
The right place for you on Minds. I don't know that this would be anyone else, but you're at Scenario. Is that the way to get a hold of you directly, Jim?
No, I just use jimscarver@gmail.com. I'll put it in there.
It's a real quick thing for anybody to, if you're just curious, the Scenario Slack is something to kind of just peek in at, and there's always discussions going on there, and kind of just loosely wet your feet with EcoTorque.
Yeah. I don't know why it came up in my mind to mention this, but it was tied up with something that came up just now, and the conversation went a slightly different way, but I'd like to go back to it because I think it's important. Is that, it was Holly talking about the collective unconscious, I think, being a big problem. The state of mind of the people in general has changed in the last 40 years. When I started talking about environmental issues when I was like 18, 19, people would say, "What are you talking about? There's no problem. You're an idiot. You know, you don't get in the way of the march of progress. You know, you haven't even got an O-level, let alone a degree, like all these people who know what they're talking about at the top of the tree." Well, now if you talk to someone about these issues, if you can get them to talk about it, they'll say, "Yes, mate, there's a serious problem, but what can I do? I've got to pay my mortgage. I don't want to think about it. Leave me alone. I'm taking enough Prozac already." So basically, the state of mind of the people has changed from "there's no problem" into "there is a problem, but I can't do anything about it." And that is a massive change. It means everybody now knows it's a problem. It's huge. It's absolutely phenomenal, that change. And that change has come about through the media. And I can't say 100%, but I'm pretty sure that there has not been a directive from, you know, the people that own the media downwards to say, "Oh shit, we made a mistake, you know, we better sort it out, this environmental issue, you know, it's terrible, we better sort it out." On the contrary, they've tried to discredit the environmental movement as, you know, they all take drugs, they all probably got AIDS, they won't work, they're a menace to society. Now they're eco-terrorists, you know. They've tried their absolute best to discredit the eco movement, and yet the state of mind of people has changed through the media. It's everywhere on the media now, and so for me, the next thing that we need to do, the next change that has to happen before anything's actually going to happen on a physical level of like change of behaviour, so we're looking after the planet, it has to change from "there's a problem, we can't do anything about it" into "there's a problem, we can do something, let's do it." And that's what I'm interested in personally, is bringing that change into the...
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't agree with global changes. I think that we have to decentralize And I think we become victims. I think what you were saying used to be true, and now the pendulum swung the other way. The obligatory is getting huge profits from the environmental movement, and they own the media, and the media is getting us to pump more money into it. And I'm not sure that we're making good use of that money because we're spending huge. It depends on where it's going, but some of it is excellent. I love it. I mean, it's great progress. I agree, but somehow they managed to take off all the cream and use whatever programs that we're trying to do to their own advantage, like Obamacare.
Absolutely, they have. They've derailed it completely. But still, everybody knows there's a problem, right? And that is a massive achievement. But everybody thinks we can't do anything about it, and that has to change. It has to change into a can do.
That's what Minds is about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think too. If you look throughout our progress, the change or the kickstart of that always happens on the fringes. And then you were saying earlier, the fringes were the ones that kind of had that new, let's say, consciousness in a sense, or a new awareness of there's a problem, and the core didn't necessarily see it. But and I think this is what we're doing here at Minds scenario, and there's a bunch of other different fringe, for lack of a better word, fringe on the fringes, not mainstream, that are testing and troubleshooting solutions, ideas. We reach some critical point to where, and I hope when in these what we're doing is that we're no longer ruled by special interests or ruled by a central authority, but simply by the best solution, by solutions, by proof, and this is how we organize, and that I think this is where things are progressing now. There's going to be people that are going to try to stall this, but I think it's and hopefully we get our as humanity just in general gets our shit together because we desperately need it.
I see it as an information war, and we have a lot of powerful people with the power to mint money behind them that are doing everything impossible to control us like sheep, and they're succeeding, and that's why there is no collective intelligence. I used to be optimistic, like you, in terms of how much progress there's been, in terms of fighting pollution and cleaning up things and stuff like that. Gay rights and all stuff we started back in the '60s. When we were hippies, and we're seeing it all come to fruition, and it's a great thing. But I think I said that in the last talk also, that if we could elect one congressman, for standing for real monetary reform, then I would think that we had a chance. But as Milton Friedman said, it'll never happen. Overly optimistic if we think we can create global change without, like they say, act locally. Think globally, and as Rush says, create the proper incentives. Okay, if you want companies to work the way they work today, as gambling casinos or whatever, then you put a low tax on capital gain and a high tax on whatever.
And I was talking to him about common law, like I do. I always talk about common law all the time. And it turns out he was a retired chief inspector of the police. and he was absolutely 100%, 1,000% enthusiastic about what I was doing and what I was talking about. And I was, the thing is, right, these, I don't know where everybody is on this, but the banks have been financing both sides of every war for the last 200 years. It's hundreds of millions of deaths, and the secret services of the world, each different country, who've been killing each other so covertly, have also woken up to this fact that they've been duped into killing each other. Honest, patriotic people of different countries have been killing each other for hundreds of years due to these banks, and they're all waking up to it. And the secret services know where these folks live, right? So I'm very hopeful, really very, very hopeful, that the secret services of the world are going to get together and just one night they're going to chloroform all those bankers and put them in the FEMA camps.
Service. You don't have a chance.
No, mate. No. You don't understand, right? It's carrots and sticks, right? The carrots that the banks have got is virtual money, which is in a computer, which doesn't even exist, and they've got a whole load of unenforceable contracts to commit serious crime. There's a much bigger carrot and a much bigger stick. Bigger carrot is we can all work together and make a beautiful place to live, and the bigger stick is if we carry on the way we're going, under that law, under that rule that you're talking about, we're going to get sick and die, and everybody's waking up to that. And you know, no matter how much virtual money these banks have got, it's not enough to clean the air. I'm hopeful about this. They haven't got the ultimate control that people think they have. Right? They're skating on absolutely very thin ice at the moment.
Sum up what he was saying, and this is kind of a little bit what we touched on in our show that we had earlier, about the power. You know, they indoctrinate the best minds via college, and Douglas Russell calls this in the dark arts of extracting value and creating systems that extract value. But and it kind of goes into what you said, and I think where all of us are on the same page. If we could figure out how to stop using their money, because that's where the illusion of their power stems from, and start investing or creating our own self-sustaining systems and making them obsolete in that sense is at least my perspective of that. But anyways, you go, Turk. Were you gonna add anything else to that, or you're?
Yeah, I think their power is vastly overestimated. I think they've got absolutely tiny amount of power. Really, it looks vast, but it's actually tiny. You know, there's so few of them. There's like what 4,000 people on this planet, and there's 7 billion people frightened of them. I mean, it's absolutely absurd to me. You know, that is the case, and the 7 billion people are waking up fast, and yeah, I've been getting. I'm in contact with people in the armed forces and secret services and the police force in this country. I've been talking about this for 38 years, and I've been concentrating on those people because I know that that's where the real power lies. If we can get them allied on our side, people at the top are finished, and we can take all their money off them. And there's no need to change the currency. We can take that money off them and use it for a different purpose. It's a tool. It's a chisel, and I can make a door with it. I can go and stick it in someone's body. You know, it's the same chisel, and that's how money is. It's a tool which is being abused by certain people, very, very few people, and we've only just got to take it out of their hands.